Welcome to this explainer on Lesson 7 of the Christian Care Mentor course. Today we are tackling a topic that, let's be honest, can sometimes feel like a pretty heavy burden, and that is setting goals. I mean, if the very idea of setting a goal feels like you're just adding another chore to your already overflowing plate, well, you're in the right place. This overview is going to completely change your perspective and turn goal setting into a genuinely empowering, spiritually grounded tool.
Now, taking a quiet moment to yourself looks incredibly peaceful, doesn't it? But we all know that in prolonged seasons of caregiving, real life is rarely that serene. It's usually super reactive, right? You're basically putting out fires just to survive until bedtime. But here's the good news. There actually is a gentle way to find peace in the middle of all that and reclaim small areas of agency in your day. To do that, we need to completely reframe what goal setting actually means. See, the old way is all tied up in performance pressure, which honestly just leads to more exhaustion and guilt. We need to toss that out the window entirely. The new way replaces that heavy, exhausting burden with clarity, hope, faithful stewardship, and intention. It is not about doing more stuff, it's about doing what truly matters, and doing it with peace.
So let's dive right into Section 1, from exhaustion to intention, and look at the story of Robert and Ellen. Robert was a caregiver who often ended his mentoring sessions feeling pretty discouraged, mostly because he thought he should always be doing more. But his mentor, Ellen, did something brilliant. She gently asked him a question no one really had before. What would feel like a good outcome for today? That question sparked a total breakthrough for Robert, and he realized, I just like to feel less overwhelmed by the week ahead. What's amazing here is that Ellen didn't try to offer some massive solution to fix his entire life. Instead, she helped him set one tiny, realistic goal, literally just making a single phone call to ask for transportation help. And making that one small decision instantly eased his load. It gave him a very clear next step and replaced all that vague guilt with a genuine sense of peace.
And this shift is deeply spiritual. This beautiful promise from Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us that God's purposes are never suspended just because we're going through hardship. Even the absolute smallest micro goals can realign our chaotic daily lives with His hope-filled intentions. It's all about practicing faithful stewardship over our very limited energy.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, the I Grow mentoring model, focusing on purpose-driven conversations. To guide caregivers toward these kinds of positive outcomes, mentors can use the I Grow model to give their conversations some gentle structure. It's a 5-step process. You start with an intro to review progress, move on to setting a goal, explore the reality of the situation, brainstorm some options, and then finally wrap up with supportive accountability. It's a fantastic framework because it keeps things moving forward while fully honoring the Holy Spirit's leading.
But here's a pro tip. Before using iGrow to set any new goals, mentors should always begin with a strengths-based approach. You've got to look backward before you look forward. Take time to reflect on past successes, identify the amazing skills and inner resources the caregiver is already using, and call out the fruits of the Spirit that you see in them. This builds immense confidence right from the start. Next up is Section 3, Making Goals Smart, and this is really about protecting caregivers from discouragement. Now, you have probably heard of SMART goals before: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. But in this context, they aren't about corporate productivity. They act as a protective shield. Setting goals this way creates much-needed momentum because it prevents caregivers from setting massive, vague goals that are impossible to reach, which only leaves them feeling even more defeated. And that brings us to a massively important tip for making goals truly achievable. Keep them incredibly small. We're talking about micro goals that take less than 15 minutes. So instead of saying, I need to get in shape, the goal becomes, I will take a 15-minute walk on Tuesday. When they are kept that small, goals actually empower you rather than burden you. Finally, let's look at Section 4, Overcoming Barriers with Grace and how to handle expected setbacks. Because let's be real, no matter how small a goal is, life happens. Every goal is going to encounter barriers eventually. Things like fatigue, fear, or an unexpected crisis. And the most important thing to remember is that this is completely normal. When those barriers hit, we can lean on the wisdom of Proverbs 24:16. Falling down or missing a goal is never a failure. It is simply an opportunity to adjust our plans, give ourselves some grace, and just keep moving forward,
completely surrounded by God's endless compassion.
And to keep that forward momentum going, keep Habakkuk 2:2 in mind. Write down the revelation and make it plain. Literally writing these 15-minute micro goals down is an absolute game changer. It takes an invisible intention and transforms it into concrete action, perfectly balancing gentle accountability with deep compassion.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this vital question to reflect on. How can goal setting actually reduce guilt rather than increase it? Remember, when goals are realistic, grounded in your strengths, and truly spirit-led, they cease to be instruments of pressure and become instruments of grace. So, what is one 15-minute micro goal you can set today to step out of mere survival and into intentional, hope-filled living?